1. A DX Florence, USA. In the dry, wind-swept plains near Florence stands a fortress of concrete and silence, a DX Florence. Locals sometimes call it the Alcatraz of the Rockies, but unlike Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, this place was built not to be remembered as history, but to contain the present. From a distance, ADX looks almost ordinary. Low buildings, fences, watchtowers. Yet every wall is layered with steel and sensors. Every door is controlled from a central room where officers watch silent screens. The sky above is wide and blue, but inside the world narrows to a single cell. The prison opened in 1994, designed for inmates considered the most dangerous in the federal system. Some arrived after violent escapes, others after leading prison gangs or planning attacks from behind bars. Names known from headlines passed through its gates. The Unabomber, organized crime bosses, extremists. But inside ADX, fame fades. Routine takes over. A typical cell is small and made of poured concrete. The bed, desk, and stool are part of the walls. A narrow window shows only sky and a slice of the Rocky Mountains, just enough to remind a person that the world still exists. Inmates spend up to 23 hours a day alone. Meals slide through a slot in the door. Exercise happens in a small, enclosed yard that feels more like a cage than a field. Silence is the loudest sound. Footsteps echo in corridors. Doors buzz and lock. Time moves slowly, marked by counts and schedules. For some prisoners, the isolation is punishment. For others, it is protection, from enemies, from chaos, from themselves. Outside the gates, life in Florence continues quietly. Cars pass. Children go to school. The mountains change color with the seasons. The prison is both a part of the town and apart from it, like a shadow that never fully disappears. A DX Florence was built with one clear idea: control. Control of movement. Control of communication. Control of risk. Supporters say it keeps the public safe and prevents violence inside the prison system. Critics argue that long-term isolation can damage the human mind. Between those views stands the silent building itself, neither speaking nor defending, simply existing. At dusk, the Colorado sky turns orange and purple. From inside a cell, an inmate might catch that color through the narrow window. It is a small reminder of distance and freedom. Beyond the concrete and steel, the world goes on. And in the stillness of ADX Florence, that simple truth can feel both comforting and unbearable. 2. USP Terre Haute, USA. In the quiet farmlands of Terre Haute, surrounded by open skies and long country roads, stands USP Terre Haute. From a distance, it looks like a complex of ordinary government buildings, but behind its fences and layers of razor wire, history has unfolded in heavy silence. USP Terre Haute is part of the larger federal correctional complex in Indiana. It holds high-security federal inmates, men whose crimes often made national headlines. The prison is also known for something rare and solemn. It houses the federal execution chamber. When the United States government carries out a death sentence, it happens here. Life inside follows strict routine. Days begin early. Doors open with mechanical clicks. Inmates line up for counts, meals, and work assignments. Some work in the kitchen, others in maintenance or education programs. Movement is controlled. Conversations are brief. Every action is watched. The building itself feels solid and serious. Concrete walls, heavy doors, narrow windows. Outside, the Midwest weather changes with the seasons. Snow in winter, thick green heat in summer. But inside, the temperature of routine remains steady. Over the years, notorious inmates have passed through these halls, including individuals connected to terrorism, violent crimes, and organized crime. One of the most widely known was Timothy McVeigh, executed here in 2001 for the bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. His case brought global attention to Terre Haute, turning a quiet Indiana city into a temporary focus of international news. For the staff, the prison is a workplace defined by responsibility. Officers, medical teams, and administrators move through each shift with professionalism. Their job is to maintain order in a place designed for control. Outside the gates, many return to ordinary homes, grocery stores, and schools, living in the same community as the institution that defines so much of the town's identity. USP Terre Haute represents more than just walls and cells. It stands at the crossroads of justice, punishment, and debate. Supporters argue it enforces accountability for the most serious crimes. Critics question the morality of long-term isolation and capital punishment. These conversations echo far beyond Indiana. At sunset, The sky above Terre Haute turns soft orange and purple. The prison's fences cast long shadows over the ground. From inside, an inmate might see only a slice of that sky through reinforced glass. It is a small reminder that beyond the steel and concrete, life continues. Fields growing, cars passing, families gathering for dinner. In the stillness of the evening, USP Terre Haute remains what it was built to be. A place where the most serious chapters of American justice quietly reach their final pages. 3. La Santé Prison, France. In the heart of Paris, hidden among busy streets and cafes, stands a fortress of stone known as La Santé Prison. Cars pass, people hurry to work, tourists take photos nearby, yet behind the high walls topped with barbed wire, a different world exists. La Santé opened in 1867. Unlike many prisons built far from cities, it was placed directly inside Paris. From the outside, it looks severe and silent, its tall grey walls forming a sharp contrast with the elegant Haussmann-style buildings around it. For over a century, it has held thieves, political prisoners, gang leaders, and figures whose names once filled newspapers. The prison's design reflects another era. Long corridors stretch in straight lines. Narrow cells line both sides, each one simple and controlled. In the past, inmates were separated by category, even by region, so they would not mix. The building became known not only for its strict order, but also for its heavy atmosphere. During the 20th century, La Santé witnessed some of France's darkest and most dramatic moments. Members of the French resistance were imprisoned here during World War II. Later, infamous criminals waited inside its walls before facing trial. The prison even carried out executions until capital punishment was abolished in France in 1981. Time changed La Santé. Reports of harsh conditions led to major renovations in the 21st century. The prison closed temporarily for reconstruction and reopened with improved facilities, cleaner cells, better lighting, and modern security systems. Yet even after renovation, the emotional weight of history remains in its stones. Inside, daily life follows a strict rhythm. Doors unlock early. Prisoners attend limited work or education programs. Exercise takes place in enclosed courtyards where the sky appears as a narrow rectangle above high walls. Conversations echo briefly, then fade. In a place surrounded by one of the world's most vibrant cities, silence can feel especially powerful. Outside the prison, Paris moves with energy. Street musicians, markets, and the distant outline of landmarks like Eiffel Tower. The contrast is striking. Freedom and confinement separated by only a few meters of stone. La Santé Prison is more than a detention center. It is a symbol of justice, controversy, and history woven into the fabric of Paris itself. Some see it as a necessary institution of law. Others view it as a reminder of past suffering and ongoing debates about prison reform. As evening falls, the city lights begin to glow. From inside a cell, an inmate might glimpse only a fading strip of twilight. Beyond the walls, Paris continues to breathe, alive and restless. Within them, La Santé remains quiet, an old guardian of secrets in the center of a modern world. 4. Black Dolphin Prison, Russia. In the remote town of Sol-Iletsk, near the border with Kazakhstan, stands one of Russia's most feared prisons, Black Dolphin Prison. Officially known as Penal Colony No. 6, it earned its nickname from a small black dolphin statue near the entrance, an almost gentle symbol guarding a place built for the harshest realities. From the outside, the prison looks like a cluster of grey buildings surrounded by high fences, barbed wire, and watchtowers. The wind moves across the flat steppe, carrying dust and silence. But inside these walls are men sentenced to life imprisonment, serial killers, terrorists, and some of the most violent criminals in Russia. Black Dolphin is known for its strict control. Inmates are blindfolded when moved through corridors so they cannot learn the layout. Guards hold them bent forward, hands cuffed behind their backs. Doors open and close with heavy metal sounds. Cameras watch every corner. Cells are small and shared by 2 or 3 prisoners. Beds are folded against the wall during the day, so inmates cannot lie down outside designated hours. There is little privacy and almost no freedom of movement. Even conversations are limited. Every day follows the same tight schedule. Wake up, inspections, meals, short walks in a caged yard, then back to the cell. Many prisoners here will never leave. Life sentences in Russia can mean 25 years before the possibility of parole. But for many, release is unlikely. Time stretches endlessly. The routine becomes the only structure in a world reduced to concrete and steel. The prison itself has a long history. It began in the 18th century as a fortress and later became a detention site under the Russian Empire and the Soviet Union. Over centuries, it transformed, but its purpose remained similar: to isolate those considered the most dangerous. For the guards, Black Dolphin is a place of discipline and responsibility. For the town of Sol-Iletssk, it is part of daily life: jobs, routine, familiarity. Children play in streets not far from walls that hold some of the country's darkest stories. There is something unsettling about the contrast. Outside, the sky over the steppe is vast and open. Inside, space is measured in steps. Outside, seasons change freely. Inside, days blur into one another. Black Dolphin Prison stands as a symbol of absolute punishment in modern Russia. Supporters argue it protects society from irreparable harm. Critics question the psychological cost of such extreme isolation. Between these views, the Black Dolphin statue remains still, almost ironic in its quiet smile. At sunset, the sky above Sol-Iletssk glows deep orange. From behind reinforced bars, an inmate might catch a small glimpse of that color. It is a reminder that beyond the fences, the world continues, wide, open, and forever out of reach. 5. H.M.P. Belmarsh, United Kingdom. In southeast London, beyond quiet residential streets and open stretches of the Thames side landscape, stands one of Britain's most secure prisons, H.M. Prison Belmarsh. Known simply as Belmarsh, it has earned a powerful nickname in the media: Britain's Guantanamo. Opened in 1991 in the Thamesmead area, Belmarsh was designed as a Category A prison, meaning it holds inmates considered highly dangerous or a serious risk to national security. Terrorism suspects, organized crime leaders, and violent offenders have all passed through its reinforced gates. From the outside, Belmarsh appears modern but severe. High concrete walls rise above layers of razor wire. Electronic gates control every entrance. Security cameras track movement day and night. Unlike old Victorian prisons with dark stone towers, Belmarsh feels like a product of the late 20th century, built for surveillance and control. Inside, life runs on strict routine. Prisoners wake early for roll call. Movements are scheduled and monitored. Some attend education classes or work assignments within the prison. Others remain in secure units with limited interaction. The atmosphere is controlled, professional, and tense. Over the years, Belmarsh has held inmates whose names made global headlines. Among them was Julian Assange, whose detention brought international attention to the prison. Terrorism convicts and high-profile criminals have also been housed here, turning Belmarsh into a symbol of Britain's toughest justice system. But beyond the headlines, daily life continues quietly. Officers walk corridors with steady focus. Healthcare staff, teachers, and administrators carry out their duties. For many employees, Belmarsh is simply their workplace, demanding, structured, and serious. The prison exists in sharp contrast to the city around it. London is vibrant and fast-moving, full of history and opportunity. Just a few miles away stand landmarks such as the Tower of London, once itself a prison centuries ago. The comparison is striking. From medieval fortress to modern high-security complex, the idea of confinement has evolved, but it has never disappeared. Belmarsh represents more than punishment. It reflects ongoing debates about security, human rights, and justice in a modern democracy. Supporters argue it protects society from serious threats. Critics question long-term detention and high-security conditions. As evening falls over southeast London, the sky darkens above the prison walls. Lights switch on inside the complex, casting sharp reflections on metal fences. Beyond those barriers, the city glows with movement and sound. Inside, time slows to routine and reflection. H.M.P. Belmarsh stands as a quiet guardian on the edge of the capital. Firm, controversial, and deeply connected to the story of modern Britain. 6. Guantanamo Bay Detention Camp, Cuba/USA. On the southeastern edge of Cuba, where the Caribbean Sea shines under tropical sun, lies a place known around the world, Guantanamo Bay Detention Camp. It stands within the larger Guantanamo Bay Naval Base, a U.S. military base that has existed on Cuban soil for more than a century. Before 2001, Guantanamo Bay was known mainly as a strategic naval outpost. That changed after the September 11 attacks in the United States. In early 2002, the detention camp was opened to hold individuals captured during the War on Terror. Many were suspected of links to extremist groups such as Al-Qaeda or the Taliban. The first images shown to the world were powerful and controversial. Detainees in orange uniforms kneeling behind barbed wire under the bright Cuban sun. The camp quickly became a global symbol. not just of counterterrorism, but of debate. Inside the facility, life was highly controlled. Detainees were held in different camps within the base, including Camp Delta. Security was tight, movement was limited. Interrogations, legal hearings, and long periods of detention defined daily existence. Some prisoners were eventually transferred to other countries. Some were released. A small number remain there even today. Supporters of the camp argued it was necessary to protect national security during a dangerous time. They believed it kept high-risk suspects from returning to the battlefield. Critics, however, raised serious concerns about indefinite detention, interrogation methods, and the lack of traditional legal processes. Human rights organizations and governments around the world questioned whether justice was being upheld. Over the years, US presidents debated closing the facility. Barack Obama promised to shut it down, but political and legal challenges made that difficult. The camp's population gradually decreased, yet it never fully closed. Beyond the fences and guard towers, the sea remains calm and blue. Iguanas move across the dry ground of the naval base. US service members live and work in an environment that feels part tropical island, part military zone. The contrast is striking, natural beauty beside one of the most controversial detention centers in modern history. Guantanamo Bay Detention Camp is more than a physical place. It has become a symbol of fear after tragedy, of difficult choices in times of crisis, and of the ongoing tension between security and human rights. As the sun sets over the Caribbean waters, the horizon glows orange and pink. Waves continue to roll onto the shore, indifferent to politics and debate. Yet within the fences of Guantanamo, history still lingers, complex, contested, and far from forgotten. 7. Tadmor Prison, Syria. In the vast Syrian desert, near the ancient ruins of Palmyra, once stood a prison feared across an entire nation, Tadmor Prison. Surrounded by sand and silence, far from major cities, Tadmor became a symbol not of justice, but of terror. Built in the 20th century as a military prison, Tadmor gained its dark reputation in the 1970s and 1980s under the rule of Hafez al-Assad. Political opponents, Islamists, activists, and suspected dissidents were sent there. Many disappeared behind its gates, and families often received no clear information about their fate. From the outside, the prison looks stark and isolated, long concrete buildings rising from the desert floor, guarded by watchtowers and heavy walls. The heat was intense. In summer, temperatures could climb above 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Sandstorms swept across the open land, covering everything in dust. Inside, former prisoners later described harsh conditions. Cells were overcrowded. Discipline was severe. Punishments were frequent and brutal. Survivors spoke of fear that never lifted, of footsteps echoing in corridors, of doors opening without warning, of nights filled with uncertainty. Tadmor was not only a place of confinement, it was designed to break the human spirit. One of the darkest moments in its history came in 1980, when hundreds of inmates were reportedly killed in a single day following an attempted assassination of the president. The event left a scar on Syria's collective memory. For many Syrians, Tadmor became synonymous with repression. Yet only a few kilometers away stood the breathtaking ruins of ancient Palmyra, columns, temples, and arches that had survived for thousands of years. Tourists once traveled there to admire history and beauty. The contrast was haunting. One place celebrating human civilization, the other representing human cruelty. In 2015, during the Syrian civil war, the extremist group Islamic State captured Palmyra. Tadmor Prison was destroyed soon after. Some saw its demolition as symbolic, the fall of a place long associated with suffering. Others felt that, even in ruins, its memory could not simply vanish. Today, the prison buildings no longer stand as they once did. The desert has begun to reclaim the land. But the stories remain, told by survivors, families, and historians who refuse to let them fade. Tadmor Prison is a reminder of how power can shape places into instruments of fear. It also shows how memory survives, even when walls collapse. In the endless Syrian desert, where wind moves freely across the sand, the silence now feels different, heavy not with control, but with remembrance. 8. Bang Kwang Central Prison, Thailand. On the outskirts of Bangkok, near the slow curve of the Chao Phraya River, stands one of Thailand's most infamous prisons, Bang Kwang Central Prison. To many foreigners, it is known by a chilling nickname, the Bangkok Hilton. The name sounds almost ironic because life inside is anything but luxurious. Opened in 1931, Bang Kwang was built to hold long-term male prisoners, including those serving life sentences and, in the past, death row inmates. High concrete walls surround the complex. Watchtowers rise above them. Layers of barbed wire shimmer in the tropical heat. From the outside, the prison seems still and controlled. But inside, life is intense and crowded. Thailand has struggled with prison overcrowding for years, and Bang Kwang has often held far more inmates than it was designed for. Cells can be packed tightly, with prisoners sleeping close together on thin mats. New inmates historically experience strict measures during their first months, sometimes including leg irons. Although some practices have changed over time, the prison's reputation for toughness remains strong. Many foreign nationals have passed through its gates, often convicted of drug trafficking, a serious crime under Thai law. For them, the shock is not only the sentence, but the sudden cultural isolation, unfamiliar language, different food, and separation from family thousands of miles away. Daily routine begins early. Prisoners line up for counts. Some work inside the facility, preparing food or maintaining the grounds. Others attend limited education or religious programs. The tropical air can be heavy and humid, pressing down on concrete yards during exercise periods. Yet beyond the walls, Bangkok pulses with life. Street vendors cook fragrant food. Boats move along the river. Neon lights glow at night. The contrast is striking. Freedom and confinement separated by only a few kilometers. Bang Kwang has also been the site of executions in the past, although Thailand has carried them out rarely in recent years. These moments added to the prison's dark international image. Still, Bang Kwang is more than headlines and nicknames. It is a complex human environment. Guards doing their duty, inmates confronting consequences, families waiting for visits. Some prisoners find ways to adapt, learning new skills or practicing religion to cope with time that stretches endlessly ahead. As evening falls over the river, the sky turns deep orange and purple. From inside the prison yard, an inmate might glimpse that color through fences and wire. It is a reminder that the world outside continues, vibrant, loud, and full of possibility. Bang Kwang Central Prison stands as a powerful symbol of Thailand's justice system. Strict, controversial, and shaped by the realities of crime, punishment, and hope for change. 9. Petak Island Prison, Russia. In the cold waters of Lake Novozero, in Russia's remote Vologda region, lies a small, isolated island. On that island stands one of the country's most secretive prisons, Ogneni Ostrov Prison. Its name means Fire Island, yet the landscape around it is quiet, grey, and often frozen. The prison was built on the site of a former monastery. Long before iron bars and watchtowers, monks once walked these grounds in silence. Today the silence remains, but for very different reasons. Ogneni Ostrov holds some of Russia's most dangerous criminals, serial killers, terrorists, and men serving life sentences. Reaching the island is difficult. A narrow causeway connects it to the mainland, guarded and controlled. In winter, ice surrounds the prison like an extra wall. In summer, the lake reflects the pale northern sky. Escape is nearly impossible. Even if someone reached the water, the distance and cold would quickly end any hope of freedom. Inside, life is strict and repetitive. Prisoners live in small cells, usually shared by 2 men. Surveillance is constant. Movements are limited and closely monitored. Inmates spend most of their day inside, with only short periods allowed for exercise in enclosed yards. Conversations are quiet. Time moves slowly. Many of the men held here will never leave. In Russia, life sentences mean at least 25 years before the chance of parole, and few are ever released. For them, the island becomes a world without horizon. Guards follow rigid procedures. Discipline is firm. The routine rarely changes. Morning checks. Meals pass through small openings, scheduled walks, evening lock-in. The goal is total control. Yet there is something haunting about the setting. The lake is beautiful in its stillness. Forests stretch beyond the water. Birds cross the sky freely above the walls. Nature surrounds the prison, calm and indifferent. The contrast is powerful. A place once dedicated to spiritual reflection now holds men convicted of terrible crimes. Stone walls that once echoed with prayer now contain silence of another kind. Vologda Oblast is far from the lights of Moscow or St. Petersburg. Life in nearby villages is simple and quiet. For locals, the prison is part of the landscape, distant but present. As evening falls, mist often rises from the lake. The sky fades into soft shades of blue and grey. From inside a cell window, an inmate might see only a narrow slice of that fading light. Beyond the bars, the island remains still, surrounded by dark water. Ognjeni Ostrov Prison is more than a facility. It is a symbol of isolation in its purest form. Surrounded by nature, cut off from society, it stands as a reminder that some sentences are not just about time, but about distance. From freedom, from the world, and from any road back. 10. A DX Monticello, USA. In the quiet countryside of Monticello, not far from the Mississippi River, stands a federal prison often misunderstood by name. Some people search for ADX Monticello, imagining a super maximum fortress like ADX Florence. But in reality, Monticello is home to Federal Correctional Institution, Monticello, a low-security federal prison for women. From a distance, the facility looks less like a fortress and more like a quiet campus. There are fences topped with razor wire, but no massive concrete towers. The buildings are simple and functional, surrounded by open land and wide Midwestern skies. In winter, snow blankets the grounds. In summer, green fields stretch toward the horizon. Inside, life follows a steady routine. The women housed here are serving federal sentences for a variety of crimes, often non-violent offenses such as fraud or drug-related charges. The atmosphere, while still strict and controlled, is very different from the isolation of a supermax prison. Each day begins early with a count. Inmates move between housing units, work assignments, and educational programs. Some work in the kitchen, others in maintenance or administrative roles. Many attend classes, earning diplomas or learning job skills. The goal is not only punishment, but preparation for release. The prison operates with structure, but also with a focus on rehabilitation. There are counseling programs, substance abuse treatment, and vocational training. For many inmates, Monticello represents a difficult chapter, but not the end of the story. The surrounding town lives quietly alongside the facility. Monticello is known for its small-town charm, parks, and river views. Local residents pass the prison on their daily commutes, seeing it as part of the landscape. For staff members, it is simply their workplace, a place of responsibility and routine. The contrast is striking. Beyond the fences, families gather at riverside parks. Children ride bicycles. The Mississippi flows steadily, indifferent to human boundaries. Inside, time moves more slowly, measured by schedules and release dates circled on calendars. Though it lacks the extreme security of a true ADX, FCI Monticello still represents the federal justice system at work. It reflects a different side of incarceration, one focused more on structure and second chances than on isolation. As evening falls over Minnesota, the sky turns pink and gold. From a dormitory window, an inmate might glimpse that fading light over the fields. Beyond the fences lies freedom and uncertainty. Inside there is routine and reflection. In Monticello, the story is not about maximum control, but about consequence, responsibility, and the possibility, however distant, of starting again.